It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Are we live? We are live. Here he is, Mike Hamilton. Mike, this is the Pete Sousa Show presented by Slovakics. Hey, Mike. Mike, can we work on getting the intro song to be a little longer?
Yeah.
Like, is there a way that we can kind of have it like? But why not put him on camera?
I don't want to be on camera. No, I'm good. Yeah. That's it.
All right, so you can give me like a little bed underneath because Zach doesn't have it long enough where it can bleed.
So what do you
in.
mean? You want the music to bleed under your voice?
Okay, it's really grown on me.
Yeah.
Like the little theme song.
Oh, yeah.
that you put together, which I love.
Sports, Pete.
I know that the people at Slovakics love it.
Yeah.
Dan Ingham, who's coming over from First National Bank of Central Texas, loves it. So
are these all cards and letters you're getting from your fans?
So if we can have a bleed in where I can talk and then it can fade out.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out how to do that on something like StreamYard. But yeah, we can figure that out.
The problem is not the want, it's the execution and what StreamYard will let us do.
I think what you could probably do is you could take that theme and you could record a generic "Welcome to the Pete Sousa Show," that kind of thing, and then you bleed that over the top of the little piece of music, and then you go straight into, and you don't introduce yourself ever. You just start the show. And so it's almost like it's part of that same conversation.
Okay, now here's where the prick side comes out. We can't have it so the music just comes in and fades. We can't turn it down.
It maybe. We'll have to look into it.
Look at this place.
Yeah, I know.
It's a beautiful studio.
Well, here's the thing.
Here's what happens.
If we weren't going live, then yes.
Yeah, the video is linked to the audio. So if I turn down the audio, the video will keep playing, even though the audio is going down, and it doesn't switch to you until I switch from one element to the other.
This is severe inside baseball that nobody.
I know.
I trust Zach. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust me either.
It only allows me to switch between one element at a time.
Okay.
And so it's harder for me to crossfade that way because it's more abrupt.
And you know what else too, by the way,
now that I'm thinking about it, there may be a background music option.
And also, Mike, I think once
in
a while,
but it's
I think
you can't pause it.
I brought that up.
Well, no. We've used it before.
We can start to cheat a little bit, like coming back from break, like playing a little bit of music. Like,
sure.
Right, Zach? All I got to do is have my Roadcaster on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll try.
Sure, that's it. You just will it into existence. Turn your Roadcaster on, and it just happens.
Well, no, he would have to turn his on.
Hey, let's talk about my spacious kitchen, Pete.
No, I called Mike yesterday. So Mike sent us a picture of his kitchen. Like
it wasn't just my kitchen. Like all of my kids were over there, with the exception of like 2 or 3.
No context, Mike.
That's what I like. I like to send stuff with no context.
So honestly, what I thought was, it looks like Mike's home is a movie set almost. It looked like somebody was out off set and took a picture of like
a snuff film.
Like a filming of like Seinfeld. You know, like it's something like your house looks like a television set or a movie set.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I think. I don't know.
Bless you, Cameron.
Bless you, Cam.
Yeah, it does.
And Cam, you don't have to sneeze for us to bless you. I come in here and I bless you every day. Yeah, no, it was great. We had like 14 people in the house or whatever. We bought.
Did anybody else get invited?
$400 worth of fried chicken, and everybody was there. It was great.
We could have we could literally.
Well, once again, the way that I respond, if Bush's would sponsor, I am happy to bring them on as an advertiser and have them in my house, and I will host a Chip and Joanna style chicken eating contest.
So here's where we're thinking.
Do they do those?
We got to find like a hole in the wall.
Yeah,
and they'll do it.
Gyms. I need gyms. Yeah, Chicken Man.
We can't talk about that. Did you talk about it?
Chicken Man.
Already?
Who was it? What are we talking about?
They can't hear me, by the way.
Yeah, they can. They can kind of hear you. It's okay.
It's when I told a guy who sells barbecue at my trivia nights.
Oh, that's right. You said my brother. Yeah. You didn't mean anything by it, but it came out weird.
No, and I was just saying,
yeah.
Pete, like I would say that to any white person.
Absolutely. Sure.
Like,
sure. You don't think about it until after. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
I've got something that I.
But Jim's Fried Chicken here in town.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, and nobody cares about this but me.
I do.
But they have the juiciest gizzards and the chewiest and the sloppiest ones in town.
Mike.
I think that's what their sign says. Sloppiest gizzards
It
in
might be
town.
time to turn
They're
that
great.
microphone
No.
off.
I'm just saying they're very good. I love them, but they're a cash-only business, which keeps me from going over there very often.
They don't have any like type
Nope,
of
cash only.
I
Yeah,
get it. I get
it's
it.
money laundering.
I respect it.
Sure.
I'm trying to think if I got anything else for you, Mike. I think that's it.
Well, I
Text-
missed you guys yesterday. I wasn't here, and
Which
then
is good. You come back looking refreshed. You
I
should
got a
take
call
more-
from you and making sure I was still alive.
Oh, you know what I was complaining about?
Yeah.
That when Cameron over here
Uh-huh.
needs a thumbnail, you start scrambling around doing whatever you can to pull the best pictures and thumbnails out of this guy. And meanwhile, I'm over here in left field with the hockey stick. No clue what I'm doing with these thumbnails. And it's just my shows just go up.
So I don't know if you saw this part of the text yesterday, but I'm gonna start putting all of those thumbnails into Canva so you guys can do your own, and it won't be hard. Like you just start throwing pictures into it, you change the headline, you're done.
All
Right? You can
This
do
is
it
another
anytime.
session, me sitting down with
every
Matthew
time.
for
No. This is you and I.
Which is
I just
fine.
show you how to do it one
Yeah.
time and we're done.
because I like doing it. I like doing my own clips, and I like,
But
you know.
also, that's for the rest of the network. Like
Yeah.
the guys in there doing Ann Harder's show now. I mean, they need to make a thumbnail when they put it up instead of relying on me to do it. Now, in Cam's
But why does Cam get special
Well,
privilege?
I was about to tell you, in Cam's defense, he sends me all the pictures and
he
just
does?
says, "Hey, do you mind assembling this for me?"
Okay,
I would do the same thing for you.
You would if I
Yeah,
sent you the picture?
absolutely. But you also don't like the weird stuff that I make that Cam
Dude.
tends to
I'll
lean
take
towards.
anything you got right
Yeah.
now.
Okay.
You did a thumbnail for me one time, and it was amazing.
If you send me those few little images, I don't mind building thumbnails. Yeah. And if anybody out there would like a special thumbnail, Pete, just write us at P.O. Box. No, I don't know.
All right, I appreciate that.
All right. Yeah.
See, this is what happens when he
And-
takes a
and
day.
It's on.
He's in a much better
and
place
it's
today.
on public record now,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
I have to do it.
But don't you guys see Mike? He's wearing life like a loose shirt today.
Yeah,
you got-
today's much better than it was yesterday. Yeah,
You probably got
Yeah.
some sleep.
every once in a while, that's a different thing. But every once in a while, I'll take a day, and I'm going to try to do it once a month,
Yeah.
where I just work from the house. I would love to be able to move my office into the one in the hall, just
Yeah.
so I'm not a walkthrough for everybody. Not that I don't want to be around everybody. I'll probably be in here just as much.
Yeah.
But if I need to make a phone call, if I need to have a meeting, whatever, I need to be able to shut a door. I haven't been able to do that for 5 years.
My Uncle Fred was kind of crazy, and he put somebody's office in the bathroom.
Well,
know-
we could do that here. We have plenty of space. There's those little weird closets in the bathroom here.
What's going on Bros, Foes, and Hoes?
Well, there's no hose. There's
Okay.
heroes.
Bros.
But that's a very special episode we're saving for February. We just did Clayface. It was One Bad Day Clayface, right?
Have you dressed up in a costume or anything?
I do tend to wear a mask each time we do our show. Now the masks change, and I'm constantly on the lookout for new masks. It did a little bit of an overspin at the dollar store the other day because they had some cool little masks, and then I brought them in here and I cut the mouth out of them just so you could see, so I could breathe. Yeah.
Why don't you buy expensive masks? Because when you have the cheap masks on, it
Yeah.
looks it's creepier than ever.
Yeah,
You know?
and I think you answered your own question, Pete. That's it. That's it right there.
What about does anybody watch Art the Clown? Do you know
No.
who he is?
Who's Art the Clown?
You know who he is? He's terrifying.
Oh,
dude.
that guy. The
He is bad.
Terrifier?
He is bad. Dude, he's bad news.
Is that who we're talking about? The Terrifier,
Yeah.
the black and white.
He's like a taller, skinnier clown.
Yeah, I don't watch that.
He is really scary.
Now I do like the one from Postmodern Jukebox. Who's that clown that sings? It's like Drippy the Clown or something like that.
All right.
The guy is so talented. You talk about a beautiful voice. We were at some concert. I don't remember what.
Ronald
which-
McDonald.
No, it's not Ronald. No, it wasn't that one. It wasn't at the Max Sabbath concert.
Yeah.
It was at another one.
And you don't get high going to these concerts.
No, not at all. No, I
You
don't.
swear.
I swear to God, do not.
I could not imagine some of these concerts Mike goes to. I would think like THC is mandatory.
No, most of them are in Austin, most of them are in Dallas, things like that. We drive back and forth same night, all that kind of
Like
stuff.
he
I would
sent us
never.
a video once of a guy that was Ronald McDonald, and he wasn't so much as singing as he was chanting instructions to the crowd. Which honestly, I thought, 30 years ago when I used to smoke a lot of weed when I was at the University of Richmond, this makes a little bit of sense.
I have always liked weird
25
stuff like
probably,
that,
actually.
and these guys have been doing this for 10 years. The band's name is Max Sabbath. They are a McDonald's themed Black Sabbath cover band. Second time I've seen them. They've been fantastic. We've also had Sheridan interview the lead singer, which was great.
It's kind of scary though.
Why?
It's just in a good way. It's
well,
just
you
like,
missed the one that was before that.
and
the
it's not
opener.
creepy. It's not creepy vibes. It's like scary. Like whoa. Like
the
what is
opener.
this?
The
I
opener.
smoked way too much.
The
weed.
girl
Like,
ended
I
up.
shouldn't have done gravity bong hits before looking at this guy.
At the
You know?
at the opener, she put on a goat's head and started tearing apart a little baby and throwing it into the crowd. So
Okay,
yeah.
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So
all right,
yeah.
I
you didn't
do-
see that one, see?
But that honestly was more relatable. Like
Yeah.
I was like, I
goat
get
head?
this now, huh?
the goat head.
Just the whole McDonald's vibe.
Oh no, those guys are great. They do it just for fun. It was great. They make a lot of jokes and stuff, and it's really a fun atmosphere. Now, I mean, I've been to ICP concerts, you
Yeah.
know, Insane Clown
Insane
Posse.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're a juggalo.
No, I'm not a juggalo, but I've been to those shows.
Mike's a juggalo,
and they're
dude.
great. I'll show you the pictures of my face painted that I got it done in the parking lot. And then went,
No.
yeah. And then my favorite picture.
Juggalos are insane, and they are gross. Like
My
juggalo
favorite
behavior.
you
is
can't do
abhorrent.
that across the board. You know?
I get. Was that like when people say like Eagles fans
Exactly.
are white trash?
Right?
Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
So we went to that, and my favorite picture of that night is me after the show where all the makeup's been ripped off my face and
By
sweated
another
off.
juggalo that
No, it's
Suzanne's
just all
never
sweated
met?
off. I will tell you this: the ICP crowd, greatest crowd I've ever been with for a show. They were cool. They didn't screw
Yeah, 'cause
anything
you
up.
had your face painted like one
This
of them,
lady,
dude.
this lady,
It's like showing up to a KKK
think-
rally. It's like, hey, they were so nice because you were wearing the hood, dude. Like,
sure,
of
that's a
course.
1-to-1, but sure. But this lady broke her ankle right as the show was beginning.
Huh.
Everything stopped. Crowd helped her carry her out to the outside to the ambulance waiting and all this stuff. I mean, they were just super good. And then the next week went back to the exact same venue and saw Gwar, which again, lots of theatrical stuff, big rubber suits,
heard of Gwar.
you know, the whole thing. The difference is for the ICP show, they spray Faygo on you the whole time. So you just get sticky and wet with soda. Now for the Gwar show,
That's like the worst thing I've ever heard.
for the Gwar show, they spray fake blood on you the whole time. And that crowd, I
Right.
got to tell you, is one where like a prison bus let out right in front of the venue because they were looking to hurt people. So we've been to both kinds of shows. We go to a lot of shows though.
It's funny. I was listening to Joey Merlino, the Philly mobster, and describe the difference between medium and maximum security prison. And I think you
Yeah.
just did a better job than he did.
Yeah.
Going from the ICP show to the Gwar show.
I would like to call out one thing that happened to me today, if you've got 2 seconds here.
Yeah, yeah. And then we got to wrap it up because
I
Dan
was-
Ingham's on his way up here.
Right?
And if he's listening, I'm afraid he's going to
Can't
turn
wait.
around.
Can't wait for Dan Ingram here
Yeah,
to be here.
so-
He's always great. Was on recording Matt Mosley a few minutes ago.
Uh-huh.
In the middle of it, he's talking about the Cowboys Pittsburgh game, and he says, you know, people like my man Mike, he remembers when this was a rivalry, so he immediately aged me to Steel Curtain right in the middle.
Is he wrong?
Now at the end, he's like, "Oh, I didn't mean to age my man Mike."
Is
But
he wrong?
No. I mean, I
Exactly.
remember some of it.
What
but
about the time when Ed Werder and him lost connection with you and they had to start over?
that was a little rough. Yeah, I was about halfway in between, and I said, "Gentlemen, you need to start at the beginning."
That's
again.
happened to me before. I working at USA Basketball. I was like an intern and I interviewed a coach.
Yeah.
And I realized the tape recorder wasn't on. And I was like, oh my God, I got to write the story. And I literally just went off memory of like what this woman had
Let me-
said. Because
let
I
me
was
tell
too
you,
scared
though,
to ask her to do it again.
Let me tell you though, Matt Mosley is a pro when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Did not get upset. He just said, "Okay,
Mosley's the
tell me
man.
where we left off, and I'll start at the beginning and go to there."
We talked on my show yesterday
Great.
about it was the 4-year anniversary of Mosley getting in that terrible bike wreck.
Yeah.
And I think that some of his gratitude and good natured demeanor comes from he's happy to be here.
I think that I agree with that, and I think that as we get older, I think things change for us. We do tend to calm down and not worry that think about our ex getting in a crash the whole time or whatever. Right? We start to let some of that stuff slough off. You know, because I don't have time for it. My shoulders aren't big enough. You know what I mean?
I asked my mom
can't.
what the best part about getting old was once, and she said, "You really stopped giving a shit."
That's exactly
so.
right.
Cam, you got something to look forward to. Zach, you too, kind of.
Woo!
You're getting there. All right, Mike. Thank you so much.
You got it. Go.
I want
Iowa
to do
State.
5 minutes on the Menendez brothers, and then we'll get to Dan. And I promise we got sports coming up. They say it twice or 4 times in the title, so at some point we will get to it. We're going to talk Cowboys with Dan Ingham. We're also going to talk about his picks, and I want to hear what he thinks the surprises have been in the Big 12 conference this year, football wise so far. But I want to quickly spend a little time on the Menendez brothers. I'm kind of losing my mind on all the content that is out there surrounding this situation. And I want to tell you why. So as a kid, it was an open and shut case. The Menendez brothers killed their parents. The first trial was a mistrial. But the fact that they had displayed such careless and reckless behavior after the murder of their parents really implied that behavior spoke volumes, I think, in the jury's mind. And in the second trial, they didn't allow the abuse excuse, as they called it. The prosecutors did. They didn't allow that in the court. So you didn't hear as much testimony, if at all, around the fact that these two guys were allegedly abused by their parents, which is like obviously the most abhorrent thing in the world. Now, I watched the first 2 episodes of the show Monsters that's on Netflix, and I was halfway through the second one or the third one, and I was like, I got to stop this. I don't know I don't remember what's true or not, and this thing is totally screwing my viewpoint up about what really happened. And I'm not saying I won't go back and watch the show. I will. There was also an issue that I'm having with the Aaron Hernandez show on FX, which is I understand that there's homoerotic behavior that exists out there in the public, in the general public, and culture, right? But Ryan Murphy, and look, we can always change the channel too. I can stop watching if I get uncomfortable with it. The Hernandez stuff, I want to talk to Cam a little bit about this. I watched episode 3 and 4. Cam will be with us in the last segment. It's manageable, I guess. And maybe it's because I'm watching the Menendez brothers at the same time that I just feel like it's being another Ryan Murphy production. Ryan Murphy is out there as being a gay dude, and that's great. But I feel like there's just a lot of that. And I'm like, wait a minute. Is there too much of this? Am I? And then first, of course, I look at myself, and Christy, my girlfriend, and I, we talk about this. I was like, they started in the Hernandez show where he's making out with another guy. I'm like, I don't I just don't love watching that. And she's like, what up? I'm like, okay, take it easy. I see my therapist on Thursday. I don't need it right now. I'm just watching the show. So whatever. It's definitely something that I'm noticing. And I'm like, I think we're being hit over the head with this too much. The gay undertones with the Hernandez and the Menendez brother. He has them it almost seems as though they're in love with each other. There's scenes where they're about to make out with each other. I think that's based on nothing. As far as I'm concerned. But the behavior, oh no, maybe it's not. Maybe Eric abused Lyle. I don't know. And that's my point. There's so much stuff out there that I watched the show about, what's Mike saying now? Probably MLM. Be careful. Make sure. I don't know how much, but I'm not sure. Oh, okay. I don't know what's going on there. We got a text. I want to make sure everything was okay over here technically. So I watched the documentary, or a piece of the documentary that is now it's new on HBO. And this is what I wanted to talk about. TikTokers and the younger generation that's coming up behind us, they are now calling for these 2 guys to be set free. And they're really, really intense about it. And I get it. We put something back in society and it takes a front row seat, or it becomes a featured item that all of us start to root for and all that. But what do these kids know? I mean, seriously, what do they know? I respect the Menendez brothers have an attorney who's working on a retrial or working to get them out of prison. And I do sort of understand that, because if you were to take it down to a manslaughter charge or even second-degree murder, they've already been time served. They've been in prison for 30-something years. I think that's it, 33 years. So, okay, I'm there for that argument, I guess. But what I don't need is 11, 12, 13, 14, whatever, 16, 17-year-olds telling me that these 2 guys need to be set free and that they're victims. And this is old man, get off my lawn. But it's certainly something that I was wrestling with last night. So I turned another documentary on. I was like, I can't handle this. Now, the common denominator and all this stuff, surprise, surprise, is me, right? I'm just like kind of, I can also, Mike and I were talking about the wonders of getting old. This is also like getting old where I'm just like, wow, this is crazy. Like now I'm like, these kids don't know anything. So I'm always constantly trying to keep myself honest with that. And all this stuff I left out this morning at the therapist's office. Can you imagine? There was stuff that was more important than this, which is kind of scary. But yeah, the Menendez brothers and that case and the Hernandez case and the Ryan Murphy, what we're doing with the FX, and even going back to Winning Time, which we've talked about, these television shows where they take great liberties with the reality of the situation can be very confusing. And I saw that the Menendez brothers are upset with Ryan Murphy, the executive producer of Monsters. And I saw that Ryan Murphy responds and he says, hey, they should be happy for me. So most people have talked about them in 30 years. And all this stuff, I'm just like rubbing my eyes. I'm like, wow. Like it's unfortunate that we are in a situation where we're just not sure what's real and what's not real now. And then you're weighed into the court of law and everything that's going on there, and it gets even more confusing. So those are my thoughts on that. It was fresh, and I wanted to get it out. And now clearly Dan was not listening on the way here because he did not turn around. He's here. I was a fear of mine that if you heard I was talking about the Menendez brothers and concerts that Mike goes to see. No, Dan is here. We will talk to him momentarily. We're going to talk Big 12. We're going to talk Cowboys. We're going to talk about where does Baylor go from here. It's the Pete Sousa Show, powered by the Rogue Media Network.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
You want to keep your money safe? You want to make some interest? Take it to First National Bank of Central Texas. That's also where you can find this guy right here.
There we go. Yeah.
Dan Ingham. Not only does he know how to take care of your money, he also knows a lot about sports. And that's what you're breathing fresh air into the limited audience. Actually, the audience is growing.
Sure.
The audience is listening to the show because we got a little down a rabbit hole about.
Are there any depressing murder talks, things we can talk about? I mean, I'm just, if you.
No, you're here to breathe. But we are going to talk about Baylor, which is somewhat depressing.
Sure. No, it's been rough.
So I want to know where Baylor goes from here in your perception. Where does this program go from right now?
Well, I mean, honestly, all you can really think about is right now. And I know that sounds really coach speak, but I mean, like yes, a lot of the noise is going to be what's going to happen next year with Coach Aranda. Is there going to be a change? That kind of thing. I have no idea. All I know is that the reality is they do have time to turn this season around. Have we seen a lot that makes us think it's going to happen? No, but I mean, they almost beat BYU last week, who's undefeated. If they didn't, spot them, several touchdowns early in the game, maybe they do win that game. So I think you just have to try and get a win. They need something positive.
And they gave one away the week before.
Bingo. So, I mean, they just need something positive.
Yeah.
And that a win is the reality, because they've lost 7 straight Big 12 games going back to last year. So it's been almost a whole calendar year since they've won a conference game. And that's a problem. That is not showing the kind of progress that you need right now.
Philosophically, like, it's so interesting. I find myself like looking at the season, knowing that it's week by week, knowing that it's a long season and we can get caught up. But here I am. I'm caught up, Dan.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, Baylor's 2-3. This is a huge game for them. They're 2-3, right?
Yeah. And so if you look at the schedule, it's like, wow. I mean, the reality is that right now they may not be, if Vegas put a line on every single game, they might not be favored in any of the games the rest of the season, except Houston in the year. However, that doesn't have to be your destiny. I have seen some good things from Sawyer Robertson at quarterback. I think he's looked really good. I think he can move around. Now, he's thrown a couple of bad picks here and there, but gosh, as much as he's had to throw the football, you're going to throw some picks every now and then. He can win you games. The right guys at quarterback. They have some playmakers. I don't know. I have not followed it closely enough, and I haven't heard if some of the guys who were suspended last week are going to be back this week.
Yeah, we're waiting to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and there were some big issues. I know some people on that staff, and they had to change their entire offensive game plan midweek when they found out their number one pass catching tight end wasn't going to be available. They had to change their whole game plan midweek. And so I imagine they know more who they're going to have this week, and that certainly helps them. But if they have all the bullets, and they're going to need all of them when they're going up to play the Iowa State, who, by the way, is a better team than BYU. I mean, this is going to be.
You think so?
Oh, I know so. Because I've seen Matt Campbell. They're winning up there. I mean, I think they're like a 12-point underdog. I mean, so that's going to be a really tough place to win for Baylor.
Yeah, it is going to be tough. I want to get your perception too on, having been around this program for a long time, seeing it in all different ways, right? And ups and downs. Where is the 1 to 10? Where is the concern around this program right now? From you knowing people in this area and knowing alums like you do and people around the Big 12, where's the concern for this?
So I'm going to go probably lower than you think, like 4. I mean, so is it super concerning that they're not very good so far this year, and it might be 2 straight years of not very good teams, and then you might have to make some tough decisions? Yes. But when you look at the big picture, 3 different coaches have won big at Baylor over the last decade, 10, 15 years. After a 10, 15-year run of awfulness, Baylor proved they can win at football. You're in Texas. That's a really good place to start. They've shown this year with NIL, you have an alumni base who's going to pony up and help you get the kind of players you need to have. So with the right coach, the right system, which Dave Aranda won a Big 12 championship, by the way.
Yeah.
You can win this. So, I mean, am I in full out panic mode? No. Does it stink that they're not very good this year so far? Yes. But I mean, if you're telling me what I buy stock in Baylor, in fact, you're supposed to buy low right now, buy the dip. I think it wouldn't be a bad time to buy the dip for Baylor.
All right, we want to move on to the Cowboys. And are you buying or selling them right now?
I'm buying, baby, because I'm a homer. No, I mean, I think they kind of are what they are. I sort of feel like this is going to be a team that like maybe squeaks into the playoffs, and then the reality is just not good enough to make a run in the playoffs. I feel like, and it would stop me if we've said this before, the last year's team I thought was pretty good.
Yeah.
And this team's not as good as that one. They're last in the NFL in rushing. So right now it's all on Dak and a not very deep receiver core, frankly. Yeah. I think Cooks is out this week too. So you've got CeeDee Lamb, Ferguson's a good tight end. I mean, so it's really all on Dak, and he's capable. He can do it, but he's not Patrick Mahomes too. Yeah. Like Patrick Mahomes, he's had to do it with some not very good offenses the last couple of years, or not very good by Super Bowl champion, but he's just so darn good. He can will his team to win. So for Dallas, it's going to be all in that passing game and a defense that has looked pretty porous at times. Could they get 9-10 wins and squeak in? Yes, but it's hard to see them being a Super Bowl contending kind of team.
Yeah, Mosley yesterday, I asked him flat out, do you think this team makes the playoffs? And he said yes. And to me, and he talked about the vulnerability of the rest of the NFC East and that it's not really for real yet what's going on in Washington.
Sure.
And they're statistically, or at least standings wise, head and shoulders above the rest of the division right now. So it is sort of okay, it's there for the taking.
I agree. I mean, so good for Washington. But does anyone really think that the Dallas can't eventually catch up to them? Not saying they won't.
Yeah.
And maybe they've caught lightning in a bottle. Maybe Cliff Kingsbury will figure out how to do it for 17 games in a season. He never did it when he was the head coach at Arizona. But we'll see if he can do that here as an offensive coordinator. But it seems like he has a really good talent at QB though, too.
Yeah, very good. Do you think that maybe right now at this juncture, we're all kind of falling all over ourselves around Jaden Daniels? I do.
Yeah, I mean, but gosh, it's hard not to get excited about that. I mean, when I know a lot of fan bases that wish they had somebody that they could fall over like that right now. And it seems like he maybe walked into a good situation too.
Yeah. All right. What about the Big 12? I want to hear what some of your biggest surprises are.
I'm going to go from a positive standpoint. I think you got to go with BYU. They showed some signs last year that they had some fight, and I love their head coach. But you've got to go with BYU as a big surprise. And I also think that Colorado is a bit of a surprise to me. Yeah. I thought that they would fade again just because I didn't think they had the depth, and they've actually developed a bit of a running game. So Colorado could be really dangerous. Going on the road as a double-digit underdog and winning at Central Florida, that was really impressive.
Yeah.
On the negative side, I'm going to go Kansas and Oklahoma State. Kansas, big surprise to me. I thought that with their QB back that they were going to win a lot of games. They've won one game. They're 1-4. Oklahoma State, I thought, was a team who could contend for the Big 12 championship, and maybe they still could if they get lucky and get on a run, but they look like just kind of a lower level bowl type team right now. So I would say those are on the negative side, Oklahoma State and Kansas. On the positive surprises, BYU and Colorado.
Yeah, Mike Gundy said that he's talked to his team after the game. And he said last week at Kansas State, he said, "Hey, look, I'm very excited. I love having my back against the wall. That's where I'm going to learn about you guys." And he said the guys looked at him like he had 3 heads, and that's typical of Mike Gundy. You kind of, I would imagine you as an alum, you kind of love hearing that.
Well, true, and there also could be a little bit. All right, these guys could be a little fragile right now, and I'm not trying to play, but I mean, like, we can't I can't be, all hell and Spitfire. You got to try and build them up a little bit.
Yeah. What do you think about Ollie Gordon? Like what is, we've talked about it ad nauseum. Is it the offensive line? Is it him?
I don't know. Cause if you watched the first quarter of that game against K-State, it looked like Ollie Gordon of last year. He ran for 70 yards in the first quarter, was trucking guys. He literally ran over players in the game. And then I think he didn't even reach 100 yards the rest of the game. So I'm puzzled by the play calling up there. They had one drive where they had a chance to take the lead in the ball game, and they had Alan Bowman run it twice, which I don't understand that. But either way, that's a long way of saying I don't know. I think the average line is average at best, and I think some of it has to be on Ollie Gordon. But if you look, he doesn't have holes, and so it's a real challenge. Right?
As an alum, do you think, hey, this is the best we could do a quarterback? Seriously, guys, we wanted to make a Big 12 title game, and now here we are with this retread.
Yeah, I kind of want to he took Oklahoma State to the Big 12 title game last year. Yeah. So you can win games with. He won a bowl game. I think they won 10 games. You can win games with him. But if they look pretty pedestrian on offense, part of me wants they've got a freshman that they really like that looks really good in practice. Again, you never know, but and he's a redshirt freshman, so he's been in the program. I'd be curious to see if you see Zane Flores get out there at some point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I would be pretty surprised if he's not moved up to number 2 on the depth chart. But again, everyone loves the backup quarterback, right?
Yeah, the most popular guy in town, always. What about the defense for Oklahoma State?
It's awful.
Yeah,
Nardo is in year 2, the experiment where they went to a D2 school to get a coordinator, and it's not gone well.
It's not going well,
and they're out of position now. They lost Colin Oliver.
This is the second guy because they had Derek Mason, right, and then now they have
who had a good pedigree. Mason had a really good pedigree, but guys are out of position, and they lost Colin Oliver. That's he's one of the best players in the Big 12, and so that's a huge loss. I'm not discounting that, but they look bad on defense.
Yeah, hopefully for them this week. I think we'll find out a lot about Oklahoma State because and Ollie Gordon, because he ran wild, I think, against West Virginia last year. Almost had 300 yards.
They should win the game.
Yeah.
Keyword is should. We'll see.
Yeah. All right, what are your picks for this week? What do you got?
All right, I'm going to start with college football.
Take it to the bank first.
Take it to the
National Bank of Central
That's right.
Texas.
All right, I'm going to go with, we talked about Kansas earlier. 1 win on the season. They're going to stay at 1 win. They are taking on Arizona State. Arizona State, a 2.5-point favorite. I like Arizona State in that ball game. So that's my pick number 1. Pick number 2, homer alert. I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys. I like getting 2.5 points against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is a team, a Mike Tomlin team that kind of just has found a way to win games, which is not anything bad, by the way. But this is not a team Dallas can't beat. Take the points. Dallas wins the game. I think they win outright.
All right, so I want to ask you about those are great picks, by the way.
We'll see. Talk to me on Monday, right?
You made sense of both of them.
Fair enough.
If you're a Steelers fan, I love Mike Tomlin, but are you like, do you sort of, I guess, lose gratitude at some point for Mike Tomlin? And you're like, hey, I'd rather we just bottom out and start over again. I feel like we're going to be, right? Like we're pushing for 9-7. Like the quarterback situation is like it just seems like, but they find a way.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. I'm going to bring it back to a team we just talked about, Oklahoma State. There's some people in the Oklahoma State camp that are the same way. Mike Gundy's been to a bowl game, I think 16 or 17 straight years. He's just been good every single year, consistently good, but only has 1 Big 12 championship. And that makes a lot of OSU fans upset. They think they should bring in someone else, but you never know what you're going to get if you don't. And I think that goes with the Steelers too. Mike Tomlin has been ridiculously consistent. But post Ben Roethlisberger, they have not been a team that is really a threat to make the playoff or to make the Super Bowl. And then that's what it's all about. So in a city where they count the rings up there, how many they have, just making the playoffs isn't enough. And they may have a team, or they do have a team like that this year that maybe like Dallas can squeak in, but they're not going to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, you tell me that they're going to go into Kansas City or something like that. No. Or Baltimore beat Lamar. No, that's not going to happen. So I really think that there is some parallels to, you can kind of
that's a great
get
comparison.
complacent, but again, 30,000-foot view. Would you rather be the, let's think Jaguars? Would you rather be the Jaguars?
Yeah.
Would you rather be up until Dan Campbell, would you rather be the Lions, a team that has no hope certain years? So, that's hard.
Yeah.
So I think you stick with the coach you got, a good one too.
All right. Well, you saved me today because I needed some thoughtful sports talk, and you came. Really, that was you got very, very. You're very thoughtful, and I appreciate that.
I'll take that, man.
No, it's very good stuff.
You got any? What are your plans this weekend? You got any games this weekend?
No games this weekend. Go to Wyoming next weekend for a game. But
have you ever done a game there?
No.
Man.
Yeah, let's
over 5. I had one of my best friends. I'm sorry if I'm stalling, killing your time. One of my best friends, or a good friend of mine in high school, played football up there.
Yeah,
and he loved it. So
really,
he was a linebacker up there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to it. All right, Dan Ingham, First National Bank of Central Texas. Thank you so much.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete. Sports.
Right. Zach Burke
We're
brings us
so
back in.
back.
Yeah, so Jacob Toby got the job, the new play-by-play voice of the San Antonio Spurs.
Yeah, but I got the Cape
a
League
job that I
championship
was
ring.
doing my best to flirt with. What's that?
So he worked for the same Cape League team that I did the year before me. I was actually doing a different role with the team when he was a broadcaster. So he gets the better job in career, but I got the Cape League championship ring the next year. So
good for Jacob Toby. He's a Texas guy, I guess.
Is he? I didn't know
so.
that.
Yeah.
I didn't really know him too well. So
Okay.
I do want to ask about kind of part of that though. You said you were in the running. I'm just curious as to like
what's your definition of in the running?
Well,
I mean,
I'm just curious as to
I went back
like
and forth with the guy who was doing the hiring. And
okay,
he
okay,
knew my stuff, knew of me.
Gotcha.
Yeah, my
so,
agent was in touch.
I mean, that's way farther than I've ever gotten in any play-by-play job, let alone one that's that major. So, in a big job like that, TV, NBA, that's a huge job.
Yeah.
How does that process even go? I'm sure you're not finding it on Indeed. Are you hearing through your agent? Are you
I had heard early last December that there was a change brewing within the broadcast.
So someone reaches out to you. Or your agent?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had heard that would be a good opportunity for me. And I was like, yeah, I having worked in the NBA, it's always been like a comfort zone of mine. And so
you'd be so good at that.
I would love it someday.
I know we talked about dwelling on jobs the ones that we don't get.
Yeah.
Which we do too much.
I mean, even
golly, you'd be perfect for that.
Yeah, no, and look, I mean, I didn't get very far at all. The guy who was doing the hiring was very, very cool, very communicative, but I could tell right away that I wasn't, I wasn't like
on the medal stand.
No, but I did get there's a little bit of heat, which is always nice. And then, you talk about, there were a couple other guys, some who I see are really good, that obviously either didn't get the job or didn't take the job. You when you get like a football package from ESPN and you're going to do a lot of basketball, and you don't mind the travel, then maybe you stick with that, like,
I mean, you've got a good kind of thing going,
huh?
You've got kind of a good thing going with how much you're getting ESPN basketball. But if a job like that comes up,
I would
way different. Yeah,
I would love it. I would love it. Yeah, I mean, because it's a full-time job. Now it gets tricky. It's interesting to get inside baseball with you.
We usually do. Yeah.
If you've noticed, like Bally's, right? And Zach talked about this a little bit. Like, there's a lot of changes going on with who's got the broadcast rights. I can speak for Great Television, who they're now they have a bunch of putting them back over the air, like in Phoenix, in Utah, New Orleans, I think is another
These
one.
RSNs.
Yeah. And so and it was just brought to my attention that the guys who oversee this, like Raycom Media, right?
You work with them.
Yeah. They
drop my name in there as well, if you could.
They are
my tape.
But so they are in charge of like the hiring process for the talent. Now, conventional wisdom tells you don't mess with that, right? Like you're a Celtics fan. 10 years ago, if the Celtics change hands and their broadcasting rights go from one outlet to another, you don't want Mike Gorman to go anywhere, right?
Right.
So when like a guy like Joe Myers is the guy who does the Pelicans, he used to do the Lakers. Joe Myers is amazing play-by-play guy. When I was a kid growing up, he did NBC football. He's got this amazing voice. You've heard him do games for sure. So he's staying with them. But yeah, there's a lot going on. There's stuff's always changing, and these jobs are always coming up every so often. But
it's a tough thing to break into, man.
Yeah.
Play-by-play more than like I am literally teetering on like a career change. We talked about this on the air, mainly because of it's so tough to get play-by-play.
Well,
that was the only thing I actually wanted to do.
Yeah.
As a kid, like you know what I mean. I enjoy doing the sports talk, especially in this setting. But that was never what I was looking to do. Yeah. I was only looking to do play-by-play and just be the voice of the Red Sox or something. Like that's all I cared about.
Could be, by the way.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Look, but here's another thing to speak to the competitiveness of the market. This summer, when I like re-signed my deal with ESPN, like people like will message you or whatever, and people hear stuff. And so there's a guy in a top who is a sports guy in a top 5 market for 15 years who talked to me about, I've been trying to get in with ESPN to do play-by-play for like a decade now. And he's like, I can't get a whiff. I was like, wow.
So sorry, he's a play-by-play guy in a top 5? He's a sports talk.
He's a sports guy, like Matt Lively,
Okay,
like,
gotcha.
yeah.
But still. I mean, we're talking about the guy who worked with the Gateman, Jacob Toby. I believe he was just in Denver.
Yeah.
Which, good market, but that's a tough jump from local sports.
So he was doing local sports
to that,
in Denver,
but it shouldn't be impossible, like we just saw.
And by the way, but that's a good example though, Cam. Like
Matt
you
Lively,
never,
by the way, he's doing well.
But you never know. Like, so you're telling me this guy was.
But it also then becomes, not to get into therapy again, like how long am I willing to go with you never know?
Yeah.
While, we're making no money and I mean, I actually get paid quite handsomely for the work I'm doing here.
So he has been doing games he's been doing games for various networks, including Fox Sports and the Pac-12 network. Oh, he's a native of Sandwich, Massachusetts. He's a Massachusetts guy.
Toby. You're saying? Yeah, I was thinking he was from the Cape.
Okay.
You said he was from Texas.
I was wrong.
like,
Sorry.
I didn't know that.
Sandwich. Only Massachusetts,
Cape,
right? Only Massachusetts.
Maybe. I'm sure there's a sandwich in England.
Well, good for this dude. Truly, it is. It's pretty awesome. And
he's already getting the exposure of big time NBA talk. Is that 2 people he doesn't know or talking about him?
No, it's cool. I think I would believe we're
on a national radio show.
We're one of the only. Not that people would come here for this, but like this is not talked about on other outlets, and especially with the intel that we have, the guy, by the way, the guy Bill Land, who left the Spurs, was an institution there. He's been there forever.
Yeah.
And they decided to, it looks like they decided to shake things up. 2 years ago, Michelle Beadle was calling a handful of games for the Spurs, maybe more than a handful. And she started with the Spurs.
I'm glad that
Beads is awesome.
I think there is a shift still to be had in terms of play-by-play.
How so? What do you like? Crystal ball me?
Honestly, you might not like this. You're a straight-laced guy, but like I see how well podcasts are doing, and specifically podcasts of ones where the people are fans and like really into it, and that goes for podcasting and YouTubing and YouTube shorts.
Yeah.
And like, it's almost that barstoolification of it all. And so is that going to be the next thing where your play-by-play guys are, more homerish than like Boston? They're usually people who grew up Red Sox fans or Bruins fans or whatever, but it's not too homerish. For the most part. I guess I'll take the Bruins out of it with Jack Edwards. But I think there's something to be had for entertaining, funny homers to be the play-by-play people.
Yeah, that's a pretty good point.
And I'll use an example of a guy you don't not like this guy, but Drake Toll. Like, I think they're going to be more Drake Tolls doing
Drake Toll.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
There's going to be more Drake Tolls doing like big time play-by-play, like an NBA team on TV. I think there's still more of that to be had. And
yeah,
I think some people are hearing that and thinking like, oh shit, like that just more hot takes, more Bayless. And I don't think that's the way it goes. I think once you put them in a play-by-play position, they're just having fun with it. And trust me, the people that have to do hot takes every day aren't like, oh, let's have some fun. They're just they think that's what's going to drive clicks. You know what I mean? And so,
yeah, but you
I don't know. That's
careful.
Getting in the weeds again.
But no, because look, as long as those people, because you end up eventually you work for the team, right? When you do that for TV or radio.
Yeah.
Because what you're saying is you're telling me these teams themselves, the individual teams will have play-by-play guys like
yes.
this. I mean, Cam, in a lot of cases, they already do. Like if you listen to the Sixers radio call and you hear Tom McGinnis, he's a fan. I mean, he's a play-by-play guy, but he's pulling for the Sixers. Now,
but has he said anything on a radio show like what we talk about on radio shows? He talked about porn stars on radio shows. You know what I mean? Has he talked about being really high on an edible and accidentally calling a black guy his brother? You know what I mean? But that's what I'm talking about. Like people like that. I think there's still, and maybe this is an advocation for myself more than anything, But like, I think there's room for that we can have people who are a little bit edgy. I wouldn't call myself a super edgy guy, but a little bit edgy who like to have fun with it. And we're not going to talk about porn stars on the air, but on a broadcast, but that we can have some fun with it.
It will be quite the zag right now because right now you see they're going more open-minded and like liberal, you would say, if you were to lean one way or the other with the folks they're hiring, which is great. And I think that's terrific. So that will be quite the abrupt change to go, okay, let's go to Drake Toll.
And what it comes down to me is just like the everyman. That's why Barstool is so successful, or at least was in its previous format, in terms of like just the everyman, just appeal to your people, so to speak. And it doesn't even necessarily need to be a political leaning, although I know exactly what you're talking about, or whatever. Like it can just be, I'm appealing to the Boston fan if I'm a Boston guy. You know what I mean? And that's what it should be at the end of the day. And I think and not just the Syracuse blowhards. Oh, I don't want to offend anybody. Whoa. And I'm going to talk like this. And I'm going to have the perfect haircut. And no way you can have a beard if you're a play-by-play guy. And like just shit like that. And can we just get some guys wearing polos and just talking about the game, talking about the sport, I
think those guys are out
there. Maybe taking a jab at another team or another city or something.
I think there's more guys like that out there than you are giving credit for.
I hope so. I hope so. Because to me, as a still relatively young person that tries to break into that, all I see are the Syracuse blowhards and the Medills and the Cronkites and the Mizzous. And
you're 27. By the time you're my age, that change could have taken place. I won't say
I hope
that's
so.
Yeah, I mean, because you think about it and you just think about who's going to own the teams, right? Like if Dave Portnoy were to buy the Boston Celtics someday.
Yes, yeah.
But he doesn't have that kind of money, does he?
No, I don't think anybody has that kind of money if we're getting into that subject next. But I know you wanted to talk Aaron.
Okay. Well,
I liked your first segment. I liked it. I would agree with all that you said.
Yeah, I think it's like there's now too much. We've
See, having said that segment, you cannot be the Spurs play-by-play guy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So
what do you mean?
Jacob Toby has never had a segment like that like we had in the first one, ever.
No, but I will disagree. I think that there are play-by-play guys out there that have radio shows and opinions. I think that there could be more of me, but I believe in what I say. I'm not saying anything like.
No, I know. It's a good thing.
Yeah,
it's a good thing, man.
Yeah, but trust me, I've thought about that. Like if I but ESPN.
And you talked about your introspection in there too, because I had the same thing when watching these of like, do I? And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not a hateful person in that sense.
No, not at all.
You know me. I can hate some things, but I don't hate like people like that or for any one of those reasons.
Just
but
like,
it's just like you're getting hit over the head with a mallet. Like if you've watched the first 4 episodes of this Aaron Hernandez thing, if you've watched 4 hours of this Aaron Hernandez thing, your biggest and almost your only takeaway is he was gay.
Yeah.
And like he had a weird upbringing. You see a little bit of his dad, a little bit of his mom, a little bit of his gangbanging friends.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is, did you know he was gay?
Yeah.
And his dad probably wouldn't have been supportive of that. And that's all we've gotten for 4 episodes. And so it's separating like, no, I can handle this. But why is there so much of this? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I will say one more thing to go back to.
Go ahead, because we've got all over the place.
No, because I just had a thought, and this is real. So, I call games for ESPN, right? Mm-hmm. They are well aware of my background and history with alcohol and drugs, right? They know I'm sober, 14 years in November. Right. But God willing, as we like to say, but I mean, they don't have to look very hard to find like some pretty interesting, dark stories about me when I was drinking and using drugs. I mean, there's people at ESPN who I knew when I was that way.
Okay. So not just through your podcast, the payoff, not just through that.
And they have,
I was going to say like your situation would have been different from Ryan Leaf, who was very publicly an addict and in prison and all that. So,
I was not. Yeah. So but once I got on to TV, I was like, well, maybe this can be an outlet to help some people. So let's start talking about it. Same stuff I'm talking about in meetings and whatever.
Yeah.
So, I would say that we are kind of getting there. Like to your point, it's happening. Like I don't think that 10 years ago you could turn on, a basketball game on ESPN2 on a Tuesday night and watch Kansas State and Texas play and have a guy calling a game that has the background that I have. I don't, at least publicly.
Sure.
Right out there. So I do feel like there is a bit of a change taking place.
This is you just trying to keep me in the industry here.
No, well, look, if it was up to me, I'd do everything. I'm like, sometimes I count the days till when are you going to leave Texas?
Middle of December.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I mean, if it's a tough move, like logistically, maybe I'll wait till January. But
All right. You should probably wait till after the holidays. I mean, that's me being selfish. That you want to see me being...
But then I'll be away for the holidays anyway. So
I'll
be in Charlotte.
I'm just trying to keep you as much as what is your status like with Rogue Media? Like, will you continue to work for Rogue Media? Like,
yeah, as far as I know, yeah.
All right.
I can do it. I like being in the studio.
Yeah.
Like we talked about earlier off the air. Like I do prefer that, but
yeah.
I also like living with Grace. It's fun.
Yeah, I get it. And look, there's no argument here.
And
By the way, I've been staring at the San Antonio Roadrunner guy.
Grace loves that guy.
He's pretty awesome.
That's the game that we went to. We went to see Celtics versus the Spurs there last year. That was the game she brought a book to.
What?
She brought a book to the game.
To the Celtics Spurs game?
Yeah.
In San Antonio?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I
do drag her to some games.
That's actually, I like your relationship. I like that.
That's a 6-hour round trip. So
yeah, let's take a book.
I mean?
I want
took a book with her for the game.
I want you to be yourself, right? Like, don't be anybody else. That's who she is.
I mean, yeah. I'm still working. I think we can get her. Like, I think she's going to be into one of these sports, one of these teams at some point. She's never obviously going to be like a diehard and not nearly what I am, but I think we can get her. She likes hockey.
Yeah. Hockey.
I wouldn't say she loves it, but she likes it.
Yeah.
That's the one she'll stand the most in terms of watching. Like, she likes watching Bruins games with me. And soccer a little bit. But she can't stand baseball.
Baseball's tough.
Which is what I know the most about.
I call baseball
by
and
far.
It's tough.
Like, it's tough for me to pick a favorite, as you know, but like, I know the most about baseball. You heard me talk with Bill yesterday, my dad. Like, clearly that's what that was our foundation. That's what we started with.
That's pretty awesome.
Oh yeah. And like, I'm not to get sappy with it, but like, it's a special thing that like, and it's something that very much makes me a snobby sports fan. I know this of like, I'm a Red Sox fan because my dad is a Red Sox fan and his dad was a Red Sox fan and his dad was a Red Sox fan. Like, that's how deep this shit goes.
See, I wonder if that's
what
where
I mean?
Sort of like I like am not like psycho about it. Like
almost certainly. Yeah.
Like I'm psycho about Villanova.
I couldn't put a New York poster up behind me. Like I could not do that.
Second day in a row I've had
I know. I'm
crap
not telling
up
you.
here.
I'm not telling you.
And it's because you hoodwinked me into Locked On.
That's exactly why I did it. I
giving
didn't
us
need
the
a
high
guest
sign.
or anything, but
I
like that's how deep it goes. So I know it won't be that. But.
You totally. I think you were way too hard on the Aaron Hernandez the last 2 episodes. I thought that I thought was pretty good. The draft combine process was cool. The agent thing was cool.
Okay, who do you think has been a good actor in it?
Terry Hernandez. She's been unbelievable.
And you think she's the best character too.
She's
great.
She's
had like 10 lines.
It's so crazy when they go.
I wouldn't even mind if they did more Terry Hernandez. She's nuts.
She's crazy. She's a good actor.
And that was a part of the story too in real time. Like, we all knew like her mom was nuts. His mom was nuts.
You know what else is who else is a pretty good actor? Schwarzenegger's kid. Maria Shriver's kid. The Patrick Schwarzenegger guy is good.
Which one is he?
He's Tebow. He's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
I at times I've been forgetting. That's a guy who's impossible to watch. Tim Tebow is such a compelling figure that we all has become like a household guy that like for somebody else to take on Tim Tebow and for me at times to forget, oh, this is supposed to be Tim Tebow. Like
it's kind of that way with Urban Meyer too.
Yeah.
By the way, that guy sucked. He really tried, but that was not a great performance.
I'll say this and see if you can relate to this. I was so into. I watched 2 hours of the the FX show yesterday that I owed myself. I went back to the Dynasty and watched the 38 minutes episode dedicated to Aaron Hernandez. And it was again, like, it just doesn't. I love Bob Kraft.
And so now you know that it was Bill Belichick's fault that those guys were killed. Yeah,
I know that's rough.
I'm just like, come on, dude.
I love Bob Kraft. I think he's very honest because I can totally relate.
How about that Kraft actor too?
That's awful. The Kraft and Belichick was off.
That
was Saturday Night Live, dude.
They've got the Belichick thing kind of there.
Yeah, that was okay.
Like the hair and the cut, like the sleeves are cut at the right spot. But like, how do you do Belichick? How do you do Belichick?
And by the way, he was not wearing that on that draft day. He was wearing He was wearing a tan suit.
Yeah, I was going to say
a white shirt and a tie. But the Bob Kraft character where he rolls in, it's like, wait a minute. Like, it was like they didn't even try. It was like
Belichick just had this thought as they're about to make the pick.
It was like
we
they
could
were
run 2 tight ends.
Yeah, totally. And then it was like, but what about it could have been like, hey, the guy who plays Donald Trump on Saturday Night Live, just change him a little bit, bring him in and have him do Robert Kraft. So the one thing I was going to say is that I could relate to Robert Kraft because I've been around a lot of like gritty, ugly stuff, but I had 2 really good parents. I was never totally screwed over by somebody, like totally lied to, like maybe a girl at some point, but like,
yeah, but not like a mentor or someone in your life.
But when Aaron Hernandez lies to him and says like, I promise you I had nothing to do with this, like, and he says he kind of changed my perspective on people. Like, when somebody,
a lot of Kraft's problems have come through too much trust.
Yeah.
And like,
I'm like that, you know?
Yeah. And there's something, I don't want to say honorable in that, but
yeah,
more sympathetic towards.
Yeah. All right, that's it. The Pete Sousa Show. We'll see you here tomorrow. Zach Burke on the Wheels of Steel. Thanks so much. Cam, we both figured out today we're not going to be doing play-by-play for the Spurs next year.
Yeah.
Life goes on. We'll be back tomorrow to prove it.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
We are Rogue Media Sports.